Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to our first official episode of LogisticSales.com, the first step to financial independence and changing the rest of your life. Since this is our first episode, you may be wondering who we are. So let's start off with a few introductions. My name is Dean. I'll be one of your co-hosts. Joining me here today is my co-host Gayle and Damon. Gayle?
Hi, everyone. It's really great to see you all here today. We're really looking forward to getting started.
Hi, my name's Daman. Glad to be here. Let's get started.
So today, we're going to be discussing the different opportunities sales has to offer. In order to do this, we're going to dive into a few things. We're going to talk about what is sales, earnings potential, salaried employees versus independent sales reps and entrepreneurs, market opportunities and logistics, timelines, and what to expect next. So to get things started and talk about what is a salesperson and what is exactly they do, Gayle, why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
Thank you very much, Dean. So before we get started, I think it's really important that we go over the definition of what is a salesperson, especially because there are so many definitions out there on who and what salespeople are and what they do. But I think it's broken down into three main components. So according to what I believe and what we believe here, sales is really about communication, being able to find a need and then to convince or persuade someone to go a certain direction or way that ultimately benefits them. To break that down into three main components, first off, we have communication. Communication is a skill that we all learn. It's something that is ingrained in us from birth. So when you're born, when you're growing up, the first things that you kind of learn are how to babble and gurgle and to mimic other sounds and things that you hear around you. And these are the first building blocks to your communication skills. As you get older, they tend to develop and get more beneficial and stronger. And those are the things that you carry on with you into your adult life. The second point is problem solving. Now, the key component in sales is to take a problem or a roadblock that somebody is facing and find a solution for that problem and then present it to them in a way that's going to be beneficial for them. So if you can communicate with somebody and figure out what it is that they're struggling with and those pain points that they're experiencing, that is one of the key components for being able to effectively do sales. The third and final component is persuasion. So once you are able to communicate with somebody, find out what their problem is, and find a solution for them, the real key point is being able to persuade them to go a direction with a solution that ultimately benefits them. And that's all sales is. If you can communicate, problem solve, and then persuade someone to go a certain direction, then you can do sales. And it's a skill I think that we all develop at some point in our lives. It's just a matter of honing it and really taking it to the next level.
Yeah, I think that's something that we'll be explaining throughout our program is what these skill sets are and how to apply them into your daily life and how to make it work for you. But I think the important thing to remember too is that none of us were really born salespeople. We just communicated. And I think that's the first step is if this is a career that you want to do, I think it's important to remember it starts with just having the courage to say that I want something more in life. And using the skill sets that we already have, we can actually achieve some of the things that we want in life. And none of us really started off as being salespeople. We fell into it by accident. And I think that's kind of important for our audience to get to know us and find out hey, these guys weren't born salespeople. I know myself, I was very introverted, very shy growing up. And the last thing I would picture myself is doing anything related to sales, right? And I don't think, I think a lot of us, we didn't really picture ourselves being in this type of position. We wanted to go work somewhere. And then through work, we found different opportunities, and then we ended up here. And I think that's important for our audience to know that, if something brought you here, and that's the question that I want everyone to ask themselves, is what brought you here? What was that inner calling that said, hey, maybe I want to check this out. Maybe I want to see and explore something, and maybe I'm meant for a little bit more. But what is that voice? What's that voice telling you?
And I think one of the important things to note is just that sales can be done by anyone. Whether you are here in North America or you're overseas, it is an industry that is so dynamic. It falls into every field known to man. And as long as you can communicate, you already have the skill sets that you need to be a successful salesperson. So the coolest part is that there are no borders when it comes to doing sales. You can be anywhere around the world and still have a very successful sales career.
Excellent point, Gayle. And I think that's something that throughout our program, people are going to get a chance to see and see exactly where those opportunities lie within their own communities as well as abroad. And I think, for you to be here and joining us in this program, we're excited to show you that. And we're going to show you how it's accessible in all the places that we go visit, the places that we go see, the places that we hear about, the places we want to be. But it's everywhere. It's just a matter of us expanding our mind to actually allow those opportunities to come in. But they're abundant and everywhere.
Yeah, that's great, Damon. So why don't we dive a little more into what the potential is for our viewers and take a look at what you've got on this next slide.
So now we kind of know a little bit about what sales is. And as we go on with this program as well, one thing that we definitely want to do is break down the myths of what a salesperson is. But we have to show you the opportunity. So I want to get into this opportunity of what sales is and what the earning potentials are in sales. And if we go into the first slide here, it just basically shows you what salespeople can make. And obviously this is on the higher end of sales, but it shows anywhere from $500,000 all the way down to maybe about $300,000. And main thing I want to show you in this slide is just the red component, which is commission. It seems to be the biggest piece on the slide, but it also stipulates that commission is a real large part of the structure when it comes to salespeople. And the question that we have is okay, why is it such a large part of the structure? And the answer for that is salespeople show value to companies by either generating money for them or being able to save money for that company. And that's why the commission structure is attached to their performance, is based on performance value. And I think that's important for people to realize is that, companies look at people in two different ways. One is expenditures and one is revenue generators. And so when they can look at people as a revenue generator, you all of a sudden become valuable if you have that skill set. And that's where the money's at. Let's get into the next slide here. So the next slide or two, we're just going to show you some basic salaries for what people are generating in different sales industries. Real estate is a very common one, and that's the one we want to show you first. So here's a slide that we have here. It's 141,000 is the top earners earning in real estate across the US. But obviously in places like Los Angeles, New York, Miami, or even Vancouver, those salaries can skyrocket because minimum price of homes are usually at least $1 million plus. And so when we get into multi-millions, obviously the salaries are going to reflect that. Into the next slide, we have different positions that are available even in the real estate market. So I know real estate is one where it's common in every country. And what we want to look at and see is, well, can you even earn more than a real estate agent? And when we pose this question in Google, we come up with this answer. And what we realize is that there's different levels of sales too. So you could lead sales teams. You could have a real estate firm. So what does that equate into opportunity-wise? And in this situation here, this slide, it says a real estate firm in the United States can make anywhere from hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars in total. Let's get to the next one. In this slide here, it says a team leader can make anything from 100K up to 200K to 300K. And it goes, I know of one TL whose goal is to make $1 million in the role that he is making 500K in right now. And so what we want to show you is that there's different levels to sales. And it doesn't have to be a sales agent. You could be a team leader, but you could also own a business, which is entrepreneurship, which is, again, having your own real estate firm or anything in any industry, any field.
I think one of the key things to note as well, just with what we're seeing in these slides, is that the skill of sales is very transferable. You learn it as maybe a basics, sales rep, but as you continue to develop those skills, just like we develop our communication skills, that's when you start to open up those higher levels of opportunities, whether that's moving into an entrepreneurship role or a team lead role. It's something that as long as you're willing to continue to develop them, the sky's the limit. And I think that's super important to kind of highlight as well, that we all have to start somewhere, but those potentials are always there.
So thank you, Gayle. That actually brings me right to the next point, which is the entrepreneur versus employee. Let's take a look at this graph, which is actually going to show you the two salaries side by side. And in the first line, what we see is this blue line, which is a pretty steady line that has increments of only 2% a year. And that's where most people are in life. They're kind of just feeling this level and slow increments just to kind of keep you at that job. Whereas the next line, the red line or the orange line here, is actually starts off on a pretty low note, but then skyrockets, which has increments of up to 25% a year. And when we see there's a big contrast here in between these two lines. One seems to just kind of hover and stay steady, and the other one skyrockets. And this is what we want to actually show you, is that entrepreneurship has a lot of potential. Imagine you could 5x, 10x, 25x your current salary. What would that couple $100 do for you a year, or up a month? And then when we go into years, what does a couple thousand do for you every year? Or what does 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, 100,000, or $1 million do for you a year versus where you're at right now? And this is kind of what we were talking about when we showed you the previous slides, is that most people get stuck and most people are not going to share this type of information with you. And the question that I would want you to ask yourself is, have you ever been asked about a sales position that has this type of potential? Have you been exposed to these type of jobs in your life? And the question is, why not? Because these things have been available for everybody. And that's what we want everyone to learn, is that it's always been in your own hands of your own financial future. And we just want to make you aware of those opportunities and show you that it's available anywhere around you. For myself personally, being in situations where that extra financial freedom has been able to give me so much flexibility in life, is something I definitely want to give back to the viewers. It's about having that freedom of, if a life crisis comes up, you don't have to worry about where your next paycheck is going to come from. It's if you have to take care of your family, or you have to take care of someone that got sick, or maybe you got stressed out with a bad situation, or something happens in life. Disabilities happen, all these sort of things can happen in life. But where do you get that financial income from to be able to cover those costs? And so, when you look at the two bars here, you realize what the potential is. And that's what I want everyone to understand is, you can 5, 10x your life, 100x your life. And, here's the proof. And we're going to give you that throughout the program here. But the proof is in the pudding, right?
Yeah.
If you look at the graphs here, it dictates all that.
And I was thinking while you were talking there, Damon, it's absolutely crazy how many people, they graduate high school and they decide, okay, what career path do I want in life? And I don't see very many people that go, I'm going to go be a salesperson. It's very rare that somebody kind of picks that as a career path. Instead, you go to university for whatever career that you've chosen. You do your dues at your schooling, and then you get into a job that typically has an earning potential cap. So when you get to the end of that earning potential, it's like, now what? And I think that's such a cool thing with sales, is that you have the ability to continue to push the limit because your earning potential is based on what you can produce. So for me, that is absolutely incredible to see people actually going after those roles in sales, because it's something that most people don't think of. I don't see very many people that go, I'm going to be a salesperson when I'm older, but it is one of the most lucrative careers that are available to us, and it is available to everybody. You just have to be willing to go after it.
I know a couple of my first jobs, whether it's working in retail or working at a gas station, I was doing sales. I didn't even know it. And so a lot of times you're probably already doing these type of roles. You just haven't learned how to get compensated properly for it. Right.
And the craziest thing too, if you do anything that involves customer service, I hate to tell you this, but you're already doing sales. So you already have the skill sets necessary. So let's just elevate them and push your own earning potentials.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's circle back to what this translates to in the world of logistics using some pretty staggering numbers. Picture this, an industry that's on the verge of doubling over the next 6 years.
That's huge.
It's massive. Yeah. And it's think about what that impact can have on you in your future. So if we look at this next slide now coming up, the global supply chain market is projected to hit over $30 billion by 2026. Again, staggering figures to reflect the opportunities out there just waiting for you. From 2021 to 2026, the market's set to experience a compound annual growth rate of over 12%. And again, what does that mean to you in your pocketbook? Right now, on average, logistics sales reps are earning about $76,000 a year. Top earners are earning $112,000. And what's crazy about these numbers is these are salaried employees. For independent sales reps and entrepreneurs, the numbers are even greater.
Wow.
So as you're getting ready and you're watching and getting ready to embark on your journey in sales, let me ask you a question. Isn't being a part of an industry that's set to double over the next 6 years something you want to be a part of? With every deal you close, you're not only helping your customers through the dynamics of the supply chain, but you're helping to set yourself up for financial freedom.
That's a big jump that's going to happen in this industry. But imagine how many other industries are just getting going, like the IT sector, technology, AI, healthcare. There's so many industries that are set to boom over the next couple of years that there's opportunities everywhere.
And that's the beauty of sales, is that these skills are not exclusive to one industry. You can use them for car sales, for fast food, for retail, for IT, whatever it is that you kind of are passionate about. These skills are usable in every single industry and every single dynamic. And if it's transportation and logistics that you're specifically interested in, there is so much room for growth. We're going to see a huge increase, I think, over the next couple of years in what is happening in our marketplace. And if you want to be a part of it, we are the platform for you.
So remember, the sky's not the limit. It's just the beginning. And it's an invitation for you to be part of an industry that's expanding at an unprecedented rate. So let me ask you one more time. Isn't being a part of an industry that's about to double over the next 6 years something you want to be a part of?
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't? And the funny part is, like, we're not only going to teach about logistics, we're actually going to teach about anything to do with sales. So we've helped actually people in so many different industries, even in our training classes prior. But people selling things like pallets and hay and starting any sort of business, right? I mean, we have a lot of knowledge in a lot of different fields, and we're willing to share that with you guys.
Yeah, I think, our basis comes from the logistics space, but we all know how to sell in very different and diverse markets. So that's the greatest part about this, is we're going to be able to teach you specifically in transportation and logistics, if that's kind of the alley you're heading down. But it is definitely not exclusive to just the logistics and transportation space.
And what's really exciting is one of the best parts I love about the job is building the relationships. And being able to find a solution for someone when you get that phone call and there's a problem, and you could jump in and help solve your customers' issues, and at the same time build these personal relationships where you take it personally to want to help them out and see them through.
Yeah, personally, that's been one of my greatest enjoyments of this job as well, is building that relationship, watching that customer succeed, watching them grow. It's so rewarding. And the customer appreciates it so much as well.
For sure.
And I think that's kind of sometimes a stigmatism in sales. Like, people look at salespeople and like, no, we don't want these guys near us. But the reality is that we're actually trying to provide solutions to everybody and trying to help everybody out. And that's all it is. Like you were saying before, customer service. How can we be of service to the people that we're working with or talking with? And I just think it makes the world a greater place, right? Like, more people that can be in service and actually looking out for each other, it's a better place to be.
And with this approach, the way we come across, we're not training that Wolf of Wall Street mentality. We're going to show you, if you're coming from a place of service and you really want to help somebody, that's really what it takes. And if it's legitimately what you want to do, it'll come out through your actions and the results.
Yeah, and highlighting what Damon said about the stigma, it's not rocket science. Literally everybody can do sales as long as you're able to build relationships and just have honest, authentic conversations. It's that simple. There's nothing complicated to it.
Yep. So talking about honesty, let's just get into how long does it take to get successful in sales? Because that's something that we want to be transparent about. It's not sometimes the easiest road to go through. And we saw this in the graph that we saw earlier that showed you about the entrepreneurship journey versus the employee journey. And in reality, if we take a look at this graph, it just shows that, through the first 3 months is you're just getting acquainted with some of the questions that you'll be asked in sales, how to respond to some of those questions. And you'll be surprised how much you actually learn in the first 3 months. But as we get into the next 3 months after that, going into the 6 to 9 month phase, you're actually starting to become a lot more competent because you've experienced the questions and now you're getting comfortable with how to respond, and you're pretty much got your script down, right? And I wouldn't really call it a script, but you just know how to have a dialogue and know how to talk to people, and it becomes more comfortable because you've been doing it for a while. Anything you do obviously starts off a little bit rocky, but you get so much better at it. And Switching into the 15-month phase and a year and a half into it, now you start becoming like a top performer because now you started realizing, okay, what roadblocks was I facing? How did I overcome these roadblocks? How can I actually give these people like real proper solutions from experience? Because now you've built experience into your roles too. And that's it. So it doesn't take, it takes a little bit of time, but you can obviously do it if you're willing to make that effort and put the hard work in.
Yeah, and I would actually compare it a lot to being in a relationship, whether you're married or even just in the dating space. In that first 3 months, you're still working on a lot of like those trust points. Like nobody is going to, well, not nobody. There are people out there that jump into marriage right away, but most of the time you're still building that relationship and you are learning to trust another person. It's the same thing in sales when you have to build that foundation. There has to be a foundation for a relationship to be formed, and so that's kind of that first 3 months. And then as you get into the 9 months, you've kind of established that relationship and you start building off of it. And then that 15-month mark is really where like you trust somebody, you have that foundation and you're able to build off of it. And that's where the professional kind of aspect comes in. And obviously in a relationship, that's kind of where you are locked in. In sales, it's really where you start closing deals and start really seeing the manifestation of all the efforts that you've put in over the last year and a half.
Well said, Gayle.
Yeah, so you're working towards that first kiss.
Yeah, I guess so.
So as you can see, we're here for you. We're here to show you the skills you need to succeed in sales. And if it sounds like something that you want to do, maybe something you've been missing in your life, come join us on a weekly basis. Bring your questions. And until next time, see you soon.